Hello, hello, and welcome back to Fridgestuck, the place where we talk about fridge facts and theories about the Homestuck universe. I'm Jen, your out-of-breath host, here to cover the second half of the Zodiac Constellations. Guys, you're supposed to be keeping the Tempest brainrot boys and Ruse from disrupting things. I'm literally cat-sized. I don't know how I'd stop a two-leg, let alone one that can crush someone's spine in real life and in his giant mech. Flyon can do what now? This wouldn't be happening if they weren't so invasive. Stop thinking about VTubers. Not happening anytime soon. They make me happy. I'm surprised that you're surprised, though. I mention them all the time in the Beyond Canon reactions and on Twitter. I even made a bottom left Hololive joke in the Hive Swap Act 2 Achievement Hunt streams last year. We had to babysit them off screen for a month. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm glad that Phil is the only boy-adjacent thing in your mind space.
I'm Miss Jen's Animus. It's in my job description.
This Skit section isn't even canon to the channel, though. Wasn't Jenny mad at the rest of us for hiding something from her a couple months back? Okay, well, this was fun. We should get back to the video now. Go herd the boys back to the brainrot section and argue about who the biggest fan of Crimson Ruse is, or something. He reads Warrior Cats. Ruse made a 3-hour video explaining Homestuck, streamed Pester Quest, and he likes Terezi the most, so I think I got you beat. Last time we covered Fef, Aradia, Gamzee, Equius, Vriska, and Terezi, so let's jump in with the next in our lineup, Kanaya. In myth, Virgo was often connected with harvest goddesses or young maidens, like Demeter and Persephone. This makes sense considering that Babylon's constellation, the Furrow, depicted Shala, the Mesopotamian goddess of weather and the harvest. The brightest star in Virgo's constellation, Spica, further retains this tradition as it is Latin for ear of grain, one of the major products of the Mesopotamian Furrow. Though in the Middle Ages, the Virgo constellation was sometimes connected to the Virgin Mary, perfect for our Virgo Maryams. There are also older variations of Virgo that show it holding the scales of Libra, linking Virgo to Lady Justice, or even Astrea. Astrea was the ancient Greek goddess of justice, innocence, purity, and precision, who left the earth due to humanity's wickedness, to become the constellation. As for major stars, Virgo's Gamma Virginius is called Porrima, which Kanaya's ancestor Porum is named after. Porrima was another name for Antivorta, a goddess of the future. She and her sister Postvorta had 2 altars in Rome and were invoked by pregnant women as protectors against the dangers of childbirth, perfect for our mothering duo. Leo's constellation is connected to the myth of the Nemean lion, the first of Heracles' 12 labors. The Nemean lion would kidnap young maidens, luring their would-be heroes to its cave, where they would meet their doom. The lion was immune to weapons, so Heracles had to fight it with his fists. After Heracles snapped the Nemean lion's back in half and turned its pelt into his clothing, Zeus placed the lion in the sky as Leo in commemoration. Suddenly, Gamzee wearing Nepeta's hat after killing her has made me even more uncomfortable, strange as it may seem. And the Greeks were not the only ones who had Leo as a lion. Indians, Persians, Turks, and more all saw this same group of stars and thought, lion, for some reason. Leo's mane and shoulders also form an asterism known as the sickle. The sickle is also considered by modern observers to resemble a backwards question mark. She doesn't even go here. The constellation Cancer was originally called Karkinos in ancient Greek, but the Sanskrit name of Cancer is Karka or Karkata. So no doubt where Karkat got his name from. But why is the word cancer linked to diseased tumors? Hippocrates, the ancient Greek physician, compared the lesions to the shape of crabs. So words like carcinogen kind of stuck. Anyway, Cancer is also a constellation linked to Heracles. In Heracles' second task, he fought the deadly Hydra, a beast that could grow back 2 heads for every one lost. As Heracles was winning in his task, Hera, the source of all of Heracles' sufferings, sent a giant crab to distract the hero. The crab managed to bite Heracles in the foot, but Heracles stomped on it, killing it. Giant crab is code for still short enough to get crunched, I guess. Same with the Hydra. Why is it dog-sized in this depiction? After Heracles defeated the Hydra, Hera placed both the Hydra and the crab in the sky for their valiant effort. Though, crazily enough, Cancer being depicted as a crab is a more modern take. The constellation has been shown as many different creatures over the centuries, usually aquatic ones, but always animals with some form of exoskeleton. In Egypt, he was the scarab, the symbol of immortality. In Babylon, he was either a crab or, most likely, a snapping turtle. To Persian astrologists, he was a crayfish. 17th century German astrologists had him as a lobster. So no wonder Karkat's Lucis was not just depicted as a giant crab, but more like a mashup version of a shelled creature. Oddly enough, many of these depictions of Cancer were found in churches built in the 12th and 13th centuries, along with the other members of the Zodiac. For example, the Cathedral of Saint Denis has a rose window that shows the 12 Zodiac members circling the Christ. Talk about a power move. Cancer is one of the faintest constellations, barely visible to the naked eye and impossible to see in city environments. So much so, it's described as a dark constellation. I think about how Karkat is constantly living in hiding, and it just makes sense to me. Though, fun fact, 2 of Cancer's brightest stars, Delta and Gamma Cancri, Cancri, are known as Acellus Australis and Acellus Borealis, or the southern and northern donkeys. I guess that's another reason for Karkat being crabby. He's literally an ask me why one of Karkat's best friends is Sollux' captor. It may be because one of Cancer's deep space objects is called the Beehive Cluster. It's also known as the manger or cradle. Truly he was the Christ allegory. The Gemini, also known as the twins or the Castors, were the twin sons of Queen Leda of Sparta. One brother, Castor, was the son of Tyndareus, king of Sparta, while the other, due to shenanigans, was Pollux, the son of Zeus, and he had the perk of immortality. Pollux Castor. Yep, our boy's name. The twins were Argonaut warriors, rescued their sister Helen that one time, and later accidentally let her get kidnapped again and caused the Trojan War because they were busy feuding with their cousins. Oops. This same feud led to their rise in stardom, if you will. Pollux was focused on releasing their cousin's herd of cattle in an act of revenge, while Castor watched from a tree. One of their cousins spotted Castor and chucked a spear at him. Castor was mortally wounded, and Pollux killed his cousins with little help from Zeus. Zeus then gave Pollux a choice to either live in Mount Olympus with the other gods, or give up half his immortality to his brother. He chose the latter. The 2 brothers would then spend their time traveling freely between Hades and Olympus, much like how Sollux half died and can move both in and outside the dream bubbles. The Castors are considered the patrons of sailors and were believed to be the source of St. Elmo's fire, a phenomenon where violet-colored plasma energy glows around objects like masts or poles or even animal horns. Perfect for our psionic. In Babylonian astronomy, the stars Castor and Pollux were also known as the Great Twins. The twins were regarded as minor gods and were called Lugalira and Meshlamtea, meaning respectively, Mighty Lord and the one who has arisen from Nergal's realm. Nergal was the major Babylonian god of plague and pestilence, who was also the king of the underworld, the same god that Equius is linked to. The twins were known as keepers of the gateways, specifically the gateway to the underworld. Our doom-aligned boy fits with an underworld entity, don't you think? Castor and Pollux are also the names of the two brightest stars in Gemini, two beings depicted in one star, much like how Sollux can be considered two personalities sharing one body. That's why he had two dream selves, after all. Taurus, meaning the bull, is a constellation that's been around since the Bronze Age. That wasn't supposed to be a joke. The Greeks considered the bull to either represent Zeus kidnapping Europa, Io, the mistress of Zeus, turned into a bull, or the Cretan bull, father of the Minotaur and one of the 12 labors of Heracles. But it's the Babylonian myth that really stands out. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the goddess Ishtar, we've met before, sends Taurus, the bull of heaven, to kill Gilgamesh for spurning her advances. I guess Mina was destined to think Rufio was cool. In Kidu, Gilgamesh's best friend, with or without the quotation marks, tears off the bull's hind part and hurls the quarters into the sky, where they become known as Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. The rest of the bull became Taurus. The constellation is always depicted the same, showing only the front half of the bull. Wait, the bull's hind legs are Holy... That should not be funny. Okay. Sacrifice is something that pops up a couple of times too. To the Egyptians, the constellation Taurus was a sacred bull associated with the renewal of life in spring. When the spring equinox entered Taurus, the constellation would become covered by the sun in the western sky as spring began. This sacrifice, so to speak, led to the renewal of the land. The Cretan bull was likewise considered a sacrificial offering in myth as well. When the bull wasn't sacrificed, Poseidon, the god expecting the offering, kicked off the whole Minotaur situation, and that inevitably led to Icarus's death. He doesn't even go here. As for major stars, Alpha Taurus is called Aldebaran, Arabic for the follower, probably explaining why Tavros is so meek. Aldebaran is the bull's red eye that is staring down Orion. A literal red bullseye. Oh my gosh. Aries is Latin for ram. It is also the name of the god of war and courage, though it's not this Greek myth that the constellation comes from. The Aries constellation is linked to Chrysomalos, a golden-winged ram from Greek mythology. This ram was sent down to Earth by the nymph/goddess Nephele to rescue her twin children, Phrixus and Hel, from being killed by their evil stepmother. Fun fact, Nephele was also the mother of the majority of the centaur race. Huh. Chrysomalos flew over the waters, but unfortunately Hel fell off in the escape. When Phrixus made it to safety, he sacrificed the ram to the gods and gave the golden fleece to King Aetes. A sheep getting killed by a twin, huh? The golden fleece was placed on an oak in a grove sacred to Ares and was guarded by a giant, never-sleeping serpent. This same golden fleece was an object of authority and the right to rule that Jason sought in his journey with the Argonauts. Hello again, casters! Meanwhile, in ancient Egyptian astronomy, Aries and eventually rams themselves were associated with Amun-Ra, the god of the sun, creation, and fertility. Because Aries was in the sky during the vernal equinox, it was called the indicator of the reborn sun. But why a sheep at all, you may ask? To the Babylonians, Aries was originally known as the agrarian worker, or the hired man. Probably why all the Rustbloods are considered lesser beings by the Highbloods. The constellation depicted them as a serf or a servant. Later, the agrarian worker turned into the ram, likely because of its growing association with Tammuz, the shepherd, god of agriculture and fertility. Tammuz was also the husband of Ishtar, the two serving as the Hades and Persephone myth before the myth, with Tammuz as Persephone. There was a whole festival in the midsummer where people all across Mesopotamia would publicly mourn his death. Rustbloods are very connected to death after all. Some are even able to see or hear the dead. And here I just thought it was a time player thing. Thank you guys so much for watching this special episode of Fridgestuck, all about the Zodiac constellations. I hope you enjoyed. There are probably a few facts I missed, so forgive me if I missed one or didn't think to include it. I might have gotten a few things wrong as well, or hey, this could all be conjecture. I'm grateful that I can contribute to the fan base when and how I can, even if that means I don't get viewed a lot. And I'm grateful for any likes and comments I do receive, as that is what keeps me getting recommended in the algorithm. Check out my socials and remember to subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye! Like constellations imploding in the night, everything is turning, and the shapes that you drew may change beneath a different light. Everything you thought you knew will fall apart, but you'll be alright. La, 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 la. La, 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 la.
Hey there. Consider becoming a patron, just like the phenomenal Alexandra Modelun and Dash.